Hello. I am walking from the gym. It's getting a little dark, so I need to walk faster. With my Necessary Diva hat on and my Necessary Diva pouch. If we don't celebrate ourselves, who will? So when it comes to this breath support, it is one of the most important components in singing. All of the greats were great and are great because they know how to support their instruments. And it's not rocket science, but it can take years and years to really feel what we should feel. Breath support should be about how we experience our voices as we sing in terms of kinesthetics, how we experience our voices, so that it's not just coming out haphazardly. The voice is not just coming out as we're trying to make great sounds. I think we spend too much time trying to sound pretty. And I think when we learn how to connect our bodies to our voices and to see our voices as a part of our bodies, body and voice, right? Which is something that I've been able to join together as one thing, as a opera singing bodybuilder, jazz singer, and all these different things that I've claimed over the years. I'm sorry it's getting dark, but hopefully you can still see me. But I've learned to do these things in bending genres in particular because of my breath support, because of my connection to my body. So when it comes to breath support, how can I describe it? Well, singing begins on the inhalation, not on the exhalation. So if you think about a wheel, and at the very bottom, when the wheel starts to turn, is when the breath, the inhalation happens, and then at the very top, and then it swings, and it's like a pendulum, is where the breath then begins to move, or where the energy moves. It's like an exchange. So singing doesn't begin on the exhalation, it begins on the inhalation. So how we inhale is just as important as how we exhale. So when I talk to my singers about inhalation, I sometimes tell them it's like the beginning of a sneeze. I know that sounds crazy. The beginning of a sneeze or the very beginning of a yawn. I like the sneeze better because it lifts the soft palate better. The yawn, sometimes we can actually pull down the jaw a bit too much. We have to sometimes be careful with too much of that. I used to do that, and it's okay if you're trying to rid the body of facial tensions. But we have to be very careful with pulling down the jaw too much because then the sound can fall. Especially for the black throat. Honey, we need to have that Leontine Price face. Oh, you know, lifting of the soft palate, spaciousness inside, but not a complete pull down. I'm talking about that because that's also important when it comes to breath. Is how are we singing before we make sound? How are we inhaling before the sound comes out? So I would say the beginning of a sneeze is how we should inhale. Our bodies should simultaneously fill up. So you don't breathe from your stomachs because your lungs are not in your stomach. You do release your stomach muscles, but you don't breathe from your stomachs, okay? You expand your chest, your latissimus dorsi, your back muscles, like an accordion, if you can. And you should feel like the body expands on the inhalation. It doesn't have to be huge. You know what I mean? You don't have to all of a sudden look like, Lou Ferrigno, but you should feel that the body grows out, not up, but out. The lungs are in the chest, so therefore our rib muscles, our intercostal muscles, should relent so that the lungs can fill up with air and the chest cavity expands. While the chest cavity expands, this is all during this breath, this beginning of a sneeze breath. At the beginning of a sneeze, while I'm doing that, I feel my lungs fill up with air, my chest cavity expands, my abs relax. My stomach does not completely go, right? That's not relaxation. That's called dead. So you don't want your stomach muscles to go dead. You just want them to relax a bit. You want them to expand a bit, but you still want to have some form in your stomach muscles. Your stomach should not be completely blah. That is too much relaxation. I think we misconstrue relaxation with dead energy. Just like with the jaw when we go, relax your jaw. That's dead jaw. You don't have to have dead jaw. You can have formation. It's just not held. Tension is when you hold. You don't want to then try to overcorrect by being too relaxed. You don't want that either, okay? So now we have our inhalation dead correct. It's the beginning of a sneeze. Relax, expand the chest cavity, allow the abs to relax somewhat, but you're not going to have blah stomach. And then the exhalation. Now, when you exhale in singing, this is where it gets difficult because the larynx, so the voice box, the trachea, the windpipe becomes the voice box on the very top. The vocal folds close from behind, okay? Your arytenoid glands brings your vocal folds together from behind. Your vocal folds are connected in the front of the throat here, where the cricoid cartilage is, but they connect from behind, which is interesting. Think about this, ladies. I'm sorry, it's dark. When the vocal cords come together, a sound is created. Your throat is closed when you're making sound. So when I say, my vocal cords are closed. So if my vocal folds are closed, where is the air? I want y'all to think about that. Where is the air if your throat or if your vocal folds are approximated? How is the air moving? Isn't that interesting? They call it the Bernoulli effect, I think is how you pronounce it. Is it Bernoulli? Bernoulli? Child, don't get me to lying. But it's when you have two objects, you blow air in between the two objects and they're sucked together. So that's what happens to your vocal folds. Subglottal pressure. Breath pressure underneath the vocal folds is what brings the vocal folds together. That subglottal pressure comes up from the pressure from your, what they call the epigastrium. I don't know. I sing from my cooch. So I like to think of my support coming from the triangle down in the cooch. Some people feel it a little higher. Some people feel the support near the belly button. Some people feel it in the epigastrium area. If you've never heard the term epigastrium, Google it. It's an important muscle for singers. I think it's important to understand vocal ped as singers. You don't have to hyper focus on it, but when you know better, you do better. When you understand how your body functions, you can have better control, I believe. You have to have both. You have to have that ability to be free and let it go, and then the ability as well to know how your instrument works. I mean, seriously, a violinist can tell you where their violin was made, if it is a Stradivarius, how to restring that baby, how to retune that sucker. They know everything about their instruments. Singers, we just sing. And I think it's important to have knowledge about our instruments. If you get caught up in a bind because you know these things, well, maybe throw it away for now. But at some point, you might have to come back around to it because it's helped me. It's getting darker, ladies. I'm sorry. It's also because I have on this baseball cap. Maybe I should take it off. That doesn't help. But anyway, when you begin to exhale, this is where it gets tricky. I believe and I feel based on what I experience in my body and based on the science. We don't really sing on air. Ooh, did she say that? She said it. Girl, I'm just saying, we don't sing on air. We sing on compressed air. Okay? Get with that, smoke that, put it in your pipe. You sing on compressed air. And what that means is that you're singing on an energy, on a buzz. The singer's formant, that ping, that buzz. You take that buzz, and that buzz then becomes a resonance, right? When we resonate, when our voice resonates behind our nose in the paranasal sinuses, there are a couple of sinuses back here. There's one in the third eye. That's where the sound is developed. But that sound was happening before it got into your cheekbones. Just above your larynx is called the singer's formant. There is a sound that happens. We may not detect it, but there is an energy, a buzz energy that happens just above the vocal folds. And if you using too much air, honey, your singer's formant, it ain't gonna be as good. And then that's why sisters sometimes have problems with pitch, because we're singing too warmly, too roundly, right? We wallow in our beautiful timbres because you know the black throat, honey. There are no two black throats alike. It's a blessing and a curse, right? So we have to be more focused, I think, as black singers on more brighter textures. I'm not talking about bright sounds where you sound like, I'm not talking about where your larynx is pulled up between your eyeballs. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that when you support properly, your voice is going to have more vibrancy, more radiance, that Leontine Price radiance. You know what I mean? Where the sound is vibrating in a way where it cuts all the way to the back of the theater and you're not even singing loud. That's all in how you use your support base. So we don't sing on air per se, we sing on compressed air. So you're going to feel when you compress air, one of the ways to practice this idea of air compression is the letter Z. Right? Find the core. Find the leanness in the tone. Don't worry about the cupo, honey. We got cupo for days. Don't worry about overwarming. The black throat doesn't need warmth. Most of the time, we need brightness. There are a couple of black voices that can get overly bright, but for the most part, our voices are very warm. And then when you focus on the chiaro scuro, you focus on the chiaro, that saves the throat. It helps with focus. It helps with pitch accuracy. It helps with being able to project your voice all the way to the back of the theater. It helps with pianissimos and different types of articulation and fast moving scales. It's hard to move your voice fast when you go ho 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 ho. It gets hard to move it, right? So now, we don't sing on breath per se. We sing on breath compression. How do you hone this concept of compression? Well, I have some ideas. When you take a breath properly, hold your breath for 5 seconds. And after that 5-second breath, then you are going to exhale on an S. And when you exhale on an S, you're going to feel that there's still appoggio. And Deborah mentioned this. Appoggio, appoggiare, in Italiano significa lean, long, supported. It means hold. So you literally are holding. So on the inhalation, the onset of the vocal folds do not need a lot of breath. So when I do I'm not even using a lot of air. So when you're singing something like, sleep, right? Just singing something like a Handel aria, something like that. Girl, you can't sing no Handel if you don't learn how to sing with lean, appoggio, tall, vertical, connected singing. And I happen to believe that Verdi is like Handel in so many ways, because there is the da capo arias, there is the bel canto feel of the two repertoires, and then there is the beauty and balance of dynamics, trills, the beauty in the high notes, right? It's not about loud, it's about classy singing. So if you sing, that's why Miss Price used to always sing her Care Selves and her Ombre Mai Fus and stuff. She knew, before she could sing, but before she could sing any of the Verdi and stuff, those Handel arias. In most of her concerts, she would start with a Handel aria. So if y'all don't have Handel in your life, get it, because you can't sing Handel if you can't breathe right. So I would say either Ombre Mai Fu or Sleep Why Dost Thou Leave Me or the Cleopatra arias. That stuff forces you to sing well. The Messiah stuff, it may feel like you can't sing that stuff. You're like, oh, my voice is too big. Ain't nobody voice that damn big. Birgit Nilsson sang, what was it? Donna Anna. She did. Margaret Price sang Donna Anna. These were ladies with big voices. Ain't nobody's voice bigger than Birgit's. So if Birgit can sing Donna Anna and sing the Verdi Requiem, we should also be able to sing those things. We need to stop telling ourselves that our voices are too big for this or that. Voices can be trained to sing various things, even if it's not our key repertoire, but our voices can be trained to sing with that kind of fioritura and support, and in teaching us how to sing some of the basic qualities and elements of singing, right? Okay, now, appoggio, hold. The onset of the voice, nothing should happen. But immediately when it is time to exhale, you're going to use the energy from the appoggio, which means you maintain a broad chest, you maintain a high sternum. Don't allow your sternum to fall. If your sternum is falling while you're singing, you're either pressing, pushing down, or dropping. That is the enemy to good breath support. While you're singing, you should almost feel like you're reinforcing the height of your chest. So sometimes when I'm singing, I feel like I'm lifting my chest. I feel like sometimes I'm reinforcing the lifting of my chest, just so that I don't lose leverage during the singing. You don't want to lose leverage. Just keep the chest tall, the ribs out during the singing is the key to appoggio. The key to appoggio is to maintain the width of the chest as best you can without forcing, and to maintain the height of the chest without forcing. It's to just feel like this constant lift, like soaring, right? So in description and in words, that's how you support. As you are singing, you maintain the height of your chest cavity and the width of your chest cavity. If it falls, if it starts to deflate during the singing, you're not supporting. You're only using air. So in reality, it is the balance of your muscles of inspiration, your diaphragm and your intercostal muscles or your rib muscles, with your muscles of expiration, your abs and your epigastrium. Those two sets of muscles are antagonistic muscles, okay? That means that they move in tandem with one another. It means that when one is primary, the other is secondary. The other one is not sleeping now. When you're inhaling, your abs are not asleep. When you're exhaling, your chest doesn't fall. So the balance of muscles of inspiration and expiration is the key to learning how to support your breath well. Being in fitness has helped me, but I went through a stage when I didn't know how to use my muscles properly as a singer. I went through that stage. I had to learn. It forced me to learn, actually. And now that I'm a fit body girl, I know how to use my muscles to support my voice. It took me some time. So what you guys can do as well, stay in shape. You know what I mean? You ain't got to be skinny and bony. Don't nobody want a bone but a dog. But stay fit, not skinny, healthy. Not skinny, healthy. That means your knees feel good. That means you can bend your elbows. It means you can walk. It means you can kneel on stage, because sometimes on stage you gotta kneel. You gotta waltz. The directors want you to do certain things. As singers, we are athletes. And we have to see ourselves as athletes. Our voices are not just a little flap. It's our whole edifice. It's the whole body. And breath is indicative of that, right? Because our breathing muscles probably take up a third of our bodies. Our whole upper torso and lower bodies assist us in our breathing, right? So this video is just part one of breathing. And I love y'all because I like money. But I also love sharing information with anybody. I can share information, because I wish someone had taught me this shit when I was your age. I was just making noises, and that shit took me far now. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for it. But I would have gone further, possibly earlier on, if I knew how to use my voice more efficiently. I had no clue really how to effectively use my breath support on purpose. Accidentally, I'm sure it happened a lot. Because when you're talented, you will stumble up on some good singing. But then there'll be some days when you'll have the inconsistent moments. When you know how to support well, you won't have that many inconsistent days. And if you do, it won't matter. Because you know it's not because you didn't know what you were doing. It was just one of those days. It was just one of them days. Y'all remember that song? Or am I telling my age? So I love y'all. I'm going to send you this, and when I get home, because I got to watch my back in case I got to kick somebody in the ding-ding. Yeah. And I will do a physical demonstration. I mean, I don't know how the physical is going to be any better than this demonstration. Because basically, I'm just going to expand my chest and dig into my belly and pull that voice straight up. Actually, you know what? I want to share. Did I share this with you guys before? Another thing to think about with support. If you wear a tampon, right? I know it sounds nasty. If you wear a tampon, it's like snatch. So you inhale and snatch. I'd call it the tampon snatch. Snatch that shit straight up to your third eye. You will feel a quickening of your lower body, because that's what it is. Another thing that I've used, you know when, now I don't know everybody's sexual orientation, but I'm just going to use the example I know. But you know when you getting it and you trying to pull it off, pull it, as my grandmama used to say, pull it off. Girl, that's what it's like to support. Like you literally just, but it's a slow pull. It's not a, unless you're doing maybe like a staccato or whatever. But it feels like a slow coochie squeeze. But it's subtle. Yeah, it's more subtle. It's not as low as the cooch, but it's just above that area where the muscles are. That's where you have the control. They call it coochie control. Oh, CC, coochie control. And you just feel that little slight pull. but it has to pull in slow motion. I don't even care if you're singing a million notes. You should always feel that your breath is moving in slow motion, even if you're singing something with 1,000 notes. That's how you really learn to sing the coloratura as well. All right, ladies, so this is the first installment. Let me know what you guys gather from this. It's long, but let me know, okay? Love you, bye.